Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ascension Board of Adjustments now called to order. My name is James Cecil, Chairman. Let it be marked in the record that Mr. Howard Dalton, Mr. Brad Walker, and Mr. Bryce Cox are present. Ms. Kathy Desideer, Mr. Alvin Madere, and David LeBlanc are absent from these proceedings. At this time, I'm going to have a public comment period. In the public comment period, if you're here to speak on anything on the agenda tonight, I ask that you hold it at this time until that particular item is called on the agenda. This time, what I give you an opportunity to do is say how you think this board may operate a little bit more proficient. Also, give you a chance to say what you don't like about Ascension Parish, and you can say what you do like about Ascension Parish. And here's your opportunity, because I think it's very important. A long time ago, my dad told me, either put up or shut up. So basically, that's the reason why I'm sitting here tonight. I didn't like it, so I became chairman. Okay? At this time, I want to go ahead and move forward with the acceptance.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of corrections to the minutes.
Go ahead, sir.
One technicality on the page 3 at the top, it says February 27th, and it should be March 27th. On the top of page 4, also the same, should say March 27th.
You mean April?
And then also on page 4 at the top, David LeBlanc was absent that meeting, and it shows him voting yes on the last item on the agenda.
Would you mind to accept the
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with these changes.
With these changes, okay. Motion to accept once these changes are modified.
I wasn't here.
So okay, and we're going to go ahead and make those changes. Then we'll go ahead and accept the minutes. Okay. Acceptance of the written decision.
Second.
With the same modifications
I don't think we have.
to be made. Correct.
No, they don't put the people on there.
Okay. Okay. All right. We have a second.
Yes.
You sustaining, Mr. Cox? Mr. Cox is sustaining because he wasn't present at that meeting. Then motion carries. We're going to go ahead and have the public hearing to consider then an appeal. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and have a statement from you of how you derived from Mr. Lance Brock, how you derived at the. You can go. You got the microphone down there? I hate to put you on the spot, Lance, but I think it's appropriate.
Okay. All right. Yes, this is a non-conforming use, an interpretation that I did recently, I think a month or so back, in reference to a site on Tiggy Duplessis Road. What it is that there's a house with a shed in back, and I had a request for someone to put a business there. That business request was, let me see, what they would like to do with the property is an additional 3,000 square foot warehouse that was not attached to the existing structure, enclosure of a yard and fence of the property, and storing of equipment in the yard outside of the buildings. Basically, this building was constructed prior to zoning going into effect, but it states in the code itself that if abandoned non-conforming use, they may not whenever a building or land in whole or in part of a non-conforming use becomes and remains vacant for a continuous period of 180 consecutive days, or whenever the commercial operations on such a property has been discontinued for a period of more than 180 consecutive days. Originally, back in April of last year, I wrote a letter stating that that if the building or the property was non-conforming, these were the rules to the non-conforming. And then basically a year later, that's when they made that request for for someone to move into that place with the 3,000 square foot building, a fence, and also to construct another building on there. And it was for, if I'm not mistaken, it was a coating company, if I'm not mistaken, industrial use. When I went out there in April of last year, the place was basically vacant. And when I went out there again this April, there was no change in the building. So based on what I saw from last year to this year, my interpretation is that all those uses, especially the use that they were making the request for, would not be permitted. And this is, I guess, where we are at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lance. Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Lance Brock at this time?
I do.
Mr. Cox?
Lance,
Yes.
so you're saying that it was your interpretation that the 180 days did lapse for the commercial use of the property?
Yes, sir, and
But
really,
did it also, are you saying that it was vacant for that 180 days?
I would think, I'm not going to say that it was vacant or wasn't vacant, but I know that the business or the commercial use that was established on that building has not, for the 180 consecutive days, has not occurred on that location.
Okay, but it's possible then that he remained there and used it for office space? Or?
Yes, sir, and an office space is a permitted use in the RM district.
Right, okay. But the commercial part of it, you're saying definitely had lapsed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, from what he's saying, it was before, which was, I think he said that he had a construction company there back in '97, I believe, and from '97 when the permit was issued till, I know, until April of last year, there wasn't that going on that property.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, do we have Joe Klein in the audience tonight? Could you, I apologize, I did leave something out. Could you sign in? We have a sign-in sheet right here on the corner of the desk. Please sign in and then approach the podium and state your name, please.
My name is Michael Uter. I represent the Kleins, Wolf Leasing, who is the official owner of the property. And in addition to that, they've been very good friends of mine for 25 years. I have a handout I'd like to give each one of you. More sense about what I'm going to say. That's a big issue.
It's a big issue.
Yeah, I know. I've been a plenty zoning and planning commission. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Klein built, well, to begin with, Mrs. Klein inherited 2 acres, which is represented by the plat you see before you. Her family's owned property there for 100 years. And in 1997, they built, it's not a house. It's an office building with a warehouse in back and a layout yard on the left side of it. That's what's been there since it was constructed in 1997. The configuration has never changed, configuration. So the representation by the zoning commission may be what they saw, but it's been an office building. There's no bedrooms in it. It is an office building. That's what it was built for. That's what it's been used for. Wolf Steel Erection used it for the first few years. Then they leased it, as shown on the lease that you have a copy of, to another steel company. U.S. Metals, Inc. And that lease was up in 2006 with the extensions. And Mr. Klein, Mr. and Mrs. Klein decided to sell the building at that time. That's when they requested something from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Klein, through Wolf Leasing, has occupied the office part of that continuously since the time that the other steel company left. And it's been listed for sale for that period of time. It's never had any other use. The building was built for that, been used for that, and been used by Wolf Leasing continuously since it was built in 1997. And what brought us to the point where it is now, the people, he signed a purchase agreement, which you'll see in the documents that I gave you, for someone to purchase the building for $400 and something thousand to use as a commercial building, $450,000. The people that were going to buy it went to the Planning Commission or the Zoning Commission and spoke with the secretary by the name of June DeLong. She told the buyers that they couldn't build any building on it that wasn't attached to the original building. They couldn't have a layout yard. They couldn't do anything that the building had been used for in the past. And that was confirmed in later letters from the zoning commission. The point I'm making is it's always been used for a commercial building. That's all it's usable for. They have a $310,000 mortgage on this 1.8 acres for the warehouse and the building and the layout yard. And what now they're being told is that they can't use it for those purposes. Residentially, it certainly isn't worth $310,000. In essence, it's a taking because they can't make use of their own property. And they scared the buyer off. The buyer canceled the contract, so they're back where they were in April of last year trying to sell it. Now, if you look at the documents we have copies of, Mr. Klein has occupied the building. He still maintains the utilities on the building. He still continues to have a commercial insurance policy on the building that he pays dearly for. The use has never changed. You can't say you occupy the building, there's nothing on the layout yard, they didn't go in the warehouse, so they don't know what's in the warehouse, but that it's no longer a commercial use. That is the only use this property has is commercial. And so what they've done basically is destroy their property value. They were there before. There were no houses on their side of the road for 300 yards. There were 2 houses across the street. I think there's 1 house now on the left side of it. They maintain it. They mow the lawn. They keep it manicured. It's never been a nuisance site. Yet the interpretation of this statute, of these regulations is they can't use it for a commercial purpose. And I'd like for you to look at the non-conforming use provisions because they're just a little bit confusing. One of the provisions says that, and I'm taking the position it's never been abandoned, it's always been used for a commercial purpose. One commercial purpose, wolf leasing, waiting to sell it to somebody for another commercial purpose. And it says in there that you can't reconstruct or alter the existing building if the cost exceeds by more than half the assessed value of the property. That's one provision. The next provision says you can't increase the usage by more than half of the existing building. So let's say the existing building is 6,000 feet. That means you couldn't construct more than 3,000 additional feet. Those are 2 separate things. You can't take the existing building, change the use of it, reconfigure it, reconstruct it for another purpose. But you can add up to 50% of the existing space in an additional building. It doesn't say anywhere in there it's got to be attached. This 1.8 acre site is the commercial site. It was used totally for commercial purposes. If you interpret this the way they're asking you to interpret it, if they had an outhouse in the back and you quit using it for 6 months, you couldn't use the outhouse anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's one site, one piece of property. And I ask you to think about the economics of this. You got 1.8 acres with improvements on it that cannot be used residentially. It cannot. It's a warehouse, a layout yard, and an office building. What are they supposed to do with their property? They built it in good faith. They've been there for 10 years. I don't know of any complaints to their use by the people around it. There were, I think, 3 houses across the road that were occupied at the time it was built, and 1 house 300 yards down, and that was it. It was rural property. Now, non-conforming, I understand when you do a rezoning or a zoning ordinance that you have to deal with non-conforming properties. But this isn't allowing the non-conforming use to use their property. This is saying you got to sell this residentially. And let's face it, it has no value residentially. In essence, if it's worth $15,000 an acre, they got $25,000 worth of property that would cost $25,000 to tear down what's there. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I just asked this committee to say they can use it like they've always used it. That's what non-conforming means. And there hasn't been any 180-day break in the use of it. They didn't have anything on a layout yard. Doesn't mean it's not a layout yard. And they wanted to build a fence around it and shield off the neighborhood. There's only 1 house to the left of it. And they wanted to improve it. And the result of this is just tragic to these people. And I still see how you can do it. I'm just amazed. And there was no consideration given to them by the zoning commission. It was all to put this into residential use. It's just not a residential property. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
I'd like for Mr. Klein to come up here and state that he did occupy it so that it's part of the record as a commercial venture.
Mr. Klein, I'll take it, you're Joe Klein. Can you please sign in, please, sir, and then approach the podium? And just to verify, we're talking about just verifying that you had not residency, but occupation?
Can I ask Mr. Udall something first? Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, let him state.
Go ahead.
And then we'll move. You give him a chance because he's got a rebuttal.
Yes, my name is Joe Klein. I'm the owner of the property, and I have occupied that as an office for my personal office ever since it's been.
You got a cell phone, turn it off, please.
Ever since we've owned it. I mean, it's never been non-used. I mean, it's always been occupied. So
You've never, I mean, you used it for your personal office,
I
is
used
what
my-
you're telling me.
yes, sir. Yes,
And you live in Baton Rouge?
I live in Baton Rouge.
Okay,
yes.
but
I use it for my
that
office, yes.
property
Yes.
for your personal
Yes,
office?
my office, Wolf Leasing. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I do.
Thanks,
Any
sir.
other questions?
Anybody have a question for this gentleman?
I have one for Mr. Udall.
Okay, well, I'm going to give him a chance to come back up. Then I'm going to open up a public hearing.
On the last page of the document that you gave us, on the packet you gave us, Mike,
Yes.
the what?
Microphone.
I'm sorry. They fuss at me when I don't speak into the microphone, like y'all can't hear me. Anyway, on the last page of the document you gave me, there's an amendment. It says this amendment is attached to and made part of the lease agreement between Wolf Leasing and Joe W. Klein Jr. and Jan Klein as landlords in U.S. Metals, dated 27th of June 2002. And it says the term, effective expiration date, which basically this extended it from July 04 and ending June 30th 05. Then there's penciled in there 05 to 06, 06 to 07, 07 to 08, 1, 2, and 3. So when did this lease terminate?
June of 06,
June of 06.
by consent of the parties.
Okay.
And that's when Mr. Klein moved his office back into the building. Because that's when they decided to sell it. And they asked for guidance, and they said it was non-conforming use, and you had to maintain the commercial use of it, and he did. And I think one of the problems here is that the potential purchaser of the property for $450,000 went to talk to the people at the zoning commission about it, and was basically told by June DeLon that he couldn't do anything there. And I believe that the director at that time was on leave. And it just created a big problem. And I don't read the statute that way. I read it that if you want to reconstruct, not remodel, but if you want to change the commercial use of the existing building, you can only do it to the point of 50% of the assessed value. But the next paragraph, which is a separate paragraph, plainly says you can add on 50% of the existing square footage, and that's all the people wanted to do. They were satisfied with that. They weren't trying to build a 20,000-foot building out there. They just needed an additional warehouse building, which they were going to, put inside an enclosure. And when they told him no, he walked away. He canceled the contract.
So, you said at the end of June 06 is when the lease ended.
Yes.
Do you have anything
Is that
showing? Do you have anything showing that U.S. Metals was doing business at that time? There, other than that.
Mr. Lease. They had the lease. They were there.
I understand they had the lease, but were they physically conducting business there? I guess is my.
Yeah, they were industrial valve and pipe company. Yeah.
Okay. That's the only question I had.
And the only reason they didn't extend the lease was they were going to sell it.
We'll go ahead and open up public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against these gentlemen requests? No one in the audience?
Motion to
Okay,
close public.
you two in the back, just come up here and sign in and approach the podium and give your statement. Go ahead, sir. Your name?
Tommy Surpass. I live to the house adjacent to the said property. I moved in August this past year. Has been nobody in there. Though everything's vacant. There's maybe a desk and a chair in there. So I don't know. There's no business being conducted currently out of the property. They do maintain it and quite well. But when I bought the house or built my house, I did not plan or foresee a 3,000 square foot building coming next to me. He's worried about his property depreciation. What about mine? That's a residential area. There's kids, people jog up and down the road, and you start bringing a fabrication facility in there, more traffic, more headaches for everybody, more eyesores. So I'm definitely against this.
You actually are saying that you have seen no activity.
None.
And I'm going to boil it down for you. In 180 days, you've seen no vehicles pull in the driveway, as per se, in 180 days.
I'd say probably longer. I mean, besides the people cutting grass and people pulling up to look at the house and the signs for sale and to walk around the house and look at, or the building, that's
so
over
there's been
180.
no evidence that you have seen.
None.
Okay, now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to persecute you.
Oh, no, I know.
Okay, do you work?
Yes, I work.
Okay. There's somebody at your home at all times?
Not at all times.
Okay.
But
It's a question I have to ask.
I understand. And when I built my house, I finished in August. I didn't move in until almost September. I was there 2 or 3 times during the day. I would stop by during lunch. I had family and friends that would stop by to check on the contractors doing the work.
Right.
There was no activity, no cars there. And about June is when the people who were occupying it before vacated out and moved out. In fact, I don't remember when, you have to pull the sheriff's report. There was a break-in and a refrigerator was stolen out of the warehouse. I was called over there, came over there. Nothing was in the warehouse, some boxes. I mean, there's been no business activity for a very long time.
Okay.
Would you,
Go ahead, sir. Ms. Cox?
so you would say since June of last year of 06 that there's been no activity, or
Correct.
are you saying prior to that? I was a little understood when you built your house. You said August you finished
I finished it up in August
of 06?
Of 06.
Okay, so you're just saying since that time period you've seen nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that it, sir?
Yeah.
Any further questions by the board? Thank you, sir. We had one other person that wanted to make a statement. You step up and sign in.
My name is Eric Bonet. I live right next door to Tommy Surpass. I've been at my residence for 4.5 years.
Okay.
So I know everything about the property for the past 4.5 years because I built my house. I'm there all the time. At one time, they did have, as far as the typical yard manicure and all that is excellent. No complaints there. But as far as any physical activity other than their office at the time being maintained, like people would go in and out doing paperwork, but any kind of sodding or any kind of metal works going on, that hasn't happened since I've been there.
And that's been 4 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, now as far as the office part, at one time, they did have, cars coming in and out, but it just looked like more like an accounting or doing just paperwork out of just the office area, nothing out of the metal building.
Well, narrow that down for me. Within 4 years, you've only seen it a couple times, 3 or 4 times, 5, 6?
At one time, it was kind of heavy. Let's see. About, I guess, the first year I was there, they would have cars like every morning, every day.
Okay.
Just going on with more or less paperwork. Nothing, no kind of big heavy equipment coming in, none of that such. There's no types of A-frames on the property whatsoever. Nothing. It's just a pretty manicured yard. Looks like it has a big stucco, nice front on it, and then the building's attached to it. And that's all that's any kind of activity that has ever happened other than,
Let me ask you a personal question.
okay.
Did you ever know that it was a business there when you moved there?
At one time, yes, because I bought the property from Elsley Webb, which is one more over than me, and he said years ago that they did have some type of metal company there. And that was
that's
as
been
far-
4 years back.
And yes, sir, that's been 4 years back. And other than that, no vehicles other than, just your normal car, truck coming in and take care of paperwork. And
Any questions
That's
by the
about
board
it.
members for this gentleman? No questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of or against these gentlemen's request?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further questions by this board?
I have to.
Sir?
I have one. I want to ask Lance again. Lance, when did you make the initial determination that the 180 days had lapsed?
Well, back in April of last year, he asked for a letter, so I went out to the site to see exactly what was going on. When I went out there, there wasn't anything going on, so I asked him what it was. So he said he had an office. That was April of last year, and then
Excuse me. You're talking about Mr. Klein?
Yes, sir.
Talking about?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. So I wrote a letter, I think, back in April of last year, just stating if he was non-conforming, then he needed to meet these requirements. Then I went out again when he asked for this particular use to be allowed on that property. So I went out to the site again, and there was nothing different from when I went out that back a year ago to this time. There's an office, maybe an office type, but there wasn't any type of industrial or coatings or any lay-down yards that I could see that whatever that was on the property at the time. When I went a year ago to April of last year to the April of this year. So based on what I saw and what and my interpretation is that it's an office, and that's what it looks like.
Office and that's it, correct?
And offices are permitted in this district.
Any further questions from this?
I was just trying to ask you one more. Is it fair for me to ask if they have any other proof showing that there was business being done there from this U.S. Steel or whatever it was?
Mr. Cox, I'll go ahead and allow that. I mean, I think that you...
I didn't know if I could still ask him that question.
Yeah, matter of fact, I should...
Let me clarify something. The ordinance has been amended so that it's the non-conforming use that you're talking about, not the use. If the non-conforming use has been abandoned for 180 days, then the non-conforming use is lost. It's not use. You can continue to use it for whatever use is allowed under the code. It's the non-conforming use.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. The non-conforming use was obviously by this whatever steel company name was.
If it was being used for such.
By U.S. Metals. And all I'm trying to find out, Mr. Parrington, is if they have anything showing me that U.S. Metals operated until their lease was up, which they said was June 6th of 06. If they had any shipping records or anything where something was coming and going that possibly the people around missed and didn't see. So that's all I was trying to get to the bottom of is, was the non-conforming use being used until the termination of this lease of June 6th, which would have been after Lance made his initial trip out there. So I guess that was the question I had that I wanted to ask them, but we're out of the public hearing, so can I still ask that question?
Basically,
Yes, you can still ask
what I'm
that
trying to figure out, the
question.
simple terms is they're trying to continue to use it for industrial. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
They just want to continue to use it for industrial. The next company to buy it or the lot buying it, they won't be able to use it for industrial.
That's correct.
And
that's
we're
what-
saying that industrial has been abandoned for 180 days, so therefore it has to go back to where they can use it for an office with a little small warehouse. But they can use it for business.
Yes, sir.
They just can't use it for an industrial business.
That's correct.
Is that
That's
correct?
my interpretation, yes. The request that came in was, could they build a 3,000 square foot building, put fencing around it, and build a have parking or have heavy, I'm not going to say heavy, but have equipment from on the outside. It was my interpretation. No, you couldn't do that based on what's there now, the non-conforming standards, and everything else.
So again, I would like to ask the question.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and personally ask Mr. Klein that. And Mr. Klein, if you can come back up. Now, public hearing is closed. So, but I'm allowing Mr. Cox because there's confusion.
Right.
Go
I just
ahead.
want to ask one question. Do you have anything showing that through the termination of
U.S. Metals?
June 6th, any shipping bills or anything showing where trucks came and went, trucking receipts?
I can call U.S. Metal and see if they can provide something to me, but I mean, I don't have it personally because I mean, all they did is gave us a rent check while they were in there, so I didn't have anything to do with their day-to-day operations. Okay. But it was used by U.S. Metals as an industrial pipe and valve company.
Thank you, Mr. Klein.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion or questions that on direct right now? No board member? We have a motion on the floor, I guess.
I'll make a motion to agree with the decision of the planning and zoning that the industrial is non-conforming, a non-conforming use.
I'll second that because it would appear that this industrial use went away and then it became an office for an extended period of time based on what Mr. Klein has said, so I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
To get a clarification, you're making a motion that you're affirming Lance's decision as
Yes, that's
non-conforming
I was
use
going to do that.
is lost.
I'm agreeing with Lance.
The motion on the floor is to uphold Lance Brock's interpretation. We also have a second. Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries. The interpretation is upheld. Next on the agenda, ID 1711.07 from Mr. Kenny Gautreaux. It's located on the east side of Privacy Lane, approximately 600 feet north of Black Bayou Road Extension. Anyone in here? Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't even see you signing in.
Try to give that number. Make sure I know that.
That's 1711.07.
Okay, thank you.
11 or 12?
11.
Excuse me.
I'll set it at 12. Go ahead, sir. State your name.
Kenny Gautreaux.
Mr. Gautreaux, what are you asking?
I'm asking for adjustment on the 20-foot building setback on this property to go to 15.
Okay, we have any questions for this gentleman at this time?
Mr. Gautreaux, you were here in March 2007 requesting a front setback of 11 feet.
Right.
Why didn't you ask for everything?
Well, I thought I did. The survey person that I had, I told him that I needed to go to the front and 15 to the back. And I didn't discover that this wasn't given till I turned in to get a addition added on to this house, that the back was not given. So that's whenever I filled out the paperwork for this here. When I explained to the person that did the survey, I explained that I needed to go 15 feet from the back, that I needed to ask for the variance thing.
The reason I asked that is because you filled out an application in the zoning and planning office for this variance. You also filled one out for the first variance. Did you not?
Yes, sir.
Did you write out the first one? And you didn't write down you wanted a rear setback adjustment?
I did, but the guy with the survey, evidently I didn't.
Well, do we have a copy of that?
That was my next question to Lance.
No, I don't think we brought a copy.
No, you don't
I'll
get
look.
a copy with him.
I mean, I don't. I'm just mean, would there be one on file, Lance?
Yes, sir. We would have one.
Yeah, I'm sure, and it wouldn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. Okay, I'm done.
Go ahead. You had a question? No, Mr. Walker?
Let's go public hearing.
Hang on, I have a question. Sir, the home, be honest with you, I drove by this piece of property, and the home you had moved in on this piece of property, you didn't realize it was that big?
When we measured it, not exactly, and so...
well, the reason why I said it, I'm not, by all means, you know, I'm questioning that you have a small piece of property.
Right.
And you moved in a fairly large home.
Right.
And right now, the way I see it, it's sitting about 7 foot off the ground.
They find that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go there. But
right.
The thing about it is, I'm saying that as you stated, earlier, you came in, you asked for, the front setback,
Right.
which is fairly close to the road in the
Right.
first place. I mean, when I drove by, it's like right there on the road.
Right.
And then now you're asking for a setback. I mean, a rear setback, and you're talking about 5 feet variance from the back.
Right. Yes, sir.
So what I'm saying is, I'm a little confused that.
Well, we can't modify the servitude, Mr. Chairman.
No, and you'd be
Well, that's
Putting it to the service.
that you're bringing it to the servitude. Were you responsible? I guess I want to say this because were you responsible for to having the house moved in and didn't realize how big it was, or did you have a contractor do that?
The contractor moved it in. The process itself was a little overwhelming. We measured the house, and I was first told before I even got started with the zoning commission that it was going to be 45 feet from the front road to start off with. That was the zoning footage at one time, and then it was changed back to 55, so that I had to get, I knew the house was like 60 feet, and it ended up being a little bit more. And whenever the survey was done, and I needed to ask for the variance, like I said, I thought I was asking for the front and the rear at that time, and when I filled it out, I explained to the person that did the survey that was filling out, because the land was donated, and
Okay.
the amount of footage that I need was like for the 60-foot house. And I did not realize that we did not get the back part from the start.
Any other questions? If not,
so
Mr. Cox.
just so I'm clear, because I thought I heard you say earlier in your comments that you're needing this because you're going to build some more onto the house?
On the side. It's going to go, not to the back. We're adding an addition bedroom and bath to the side of the
Well,
house.
if it's going to go to the side, then why do you need the back? Because that's the original house is still...
The original house does go over, does go over.
So when you placed it there, you were out of the specifications, or you were over the...
Right, and I thought we had got the variance before, when we filled out the paperwork and all. I thought that was included in that, and I did not realize that it wasn't until I bought for the addition that goes on the side that we were over.
Okay, so does any part of it, so 5 feet takes care of
Right,
everything?
5 feet will take care of it.
Even the overhangs of the house? and
Overhangs and everything.
And that's going to put you right up real close to that that servitude.
And that's why I was
And
asking you the
you
question.
can't impede on servitude at all.
I understand that. That's not a problem. The houses that are on that road now were there when it was a private road, and the 15-foot servitude, the houses go almost to the back of the property line, the existing houses, because they were there before. And that might be a whole nother subject.
Wait, yeah, but the thing about it is, I'm letting you know that you cannot impede
I understand.
whatsoever.
Right.
Because this board cannot even give you or grant you anything to impede on a servitude.
Right, I understand.
All right. Public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? No one? Close.
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further questions by this board? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that this
Just a
be-
moment. Sir?
I'm signed for the next one.
Oh, okay. I'm getting a little jump of the gun there, huh?
A little antsy.
Now,
I like a guy on time.
now,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that this be accepted as written, but I just want to make sure that the applicant fully understands that he cannot impede on any servitude with any overhang or anything of that nature.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept as written, and we also have a second. Any opposition? No opposition. Therefore, the motion carries. Variance is granted. I knew I'd get it out. Okay, next on the agenda tonight is 1712.07, It's Pecan Ridge subdivision for 621 Holdings, LLC, located on the north side of LA Highway 621, approximately 400 feet from Cesar Road. Go ahead, sir. State your name.
My name is Norris Decato. I'm with Applied Engineering Services, and I'm representing the lot owners. This lot, this subdivision has been completed. There are no homes started yet. All the utilities are in, and the builders that are purchasing the lots wanted to build a deeper house than is allowed with a 25-foot front building line. So we're here to ask you to reduce the front building line from 25 to 18. So
Let me ask you a question, sir. What lot is that?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them?
Yes, sir, all of them.
Every lot.
Any further questions by the board while he's at the podium at this time?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. On the application, the variance rezoning application that you filed, you said to reduce all front building lines on lots 1 through 49, which was all of them, from 25 feet to 18 feet. And you put on here also reduce north building line on lots 24 and 29 from 25 feet to 18 feet.
Yes, sir. That would be like on, if you, do you have a copy of the plat?
Yes, I'm looking at it. So you're asking for a reduction on two sides of those lots?
On 24, I'm asking for front and side. Yes, sir.
And 29?
And 29.
Mr. Walker.
So that's not the way it was written up, Lance?
No, I didn't, because as you remember, the council just approved to reduce those sides by half. So that's why I didn't put that on there.
So he doesn't need that piece
that was
of it.
before the 15
So that's,
foot.
that's why, okay, I just want to make sure I was clear on it. So he doesn't need that piece, that's why, okay,
All right.
thank you.
Mr. Walker, that was your comment?
Yeah,
Okay,
about T
thank you.
turnaround, and then you.
All right, any further questions? Any further questions?
What's the hardship?
Well, the hardship is that they want to build a deeper house. All these lots, all of them are 85.5 feet wide, and they don't want to get wider. They want to go deeper. So they want to leave the 20 foot in the back and go to the front with the depths of the houses, and that would give more side yard between each lot.
Bigger house, more money?
Yeah, bigger house, but more narrow. So it would give most of all of the lots bigger side yards.
Go ahead.
Because with the short lots we have, they'd have to go ranch style. You know, everything is front loaded garages.
Now, when you say bigger side yards, what is your side yard configuration now? Are we still 5 foot?
Well, I think, yeah, it's 5 foot, but you see on an 85-foot lot, if you take 10 from 85, that leaves a 75-foot wide house. There's hardly any, there's not a lot of 75-foot wide houses. So they want to get the square footage up, so they want to go this way instead of that way.
So you're not adding any more to the side, you're just making the house bigger?
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Any further questions? Let's go ahead and open up public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? No one? Close public hearing,
So
please.
moved.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further questions? Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move this be denied because it addresses the entire subdivision. If there's any hardship, it's self-imposed, and those are my reasons.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor right now to deny as written. We also have a second. Any opposition? No. No opposition. Motion carries. Variance is denied. Next on the agenda is 1713.07, Lot 27 of Renaissance Subdivision. First filing. This is for Dennis Carlin, located on the west side of Ariana Avenue. I can't see, guy. Ariana Avenue, approximately 130 feet north. What is that?
Gentlemen, I'm Jim Tatum with Tatum Engineering here tonight representing Dennis Carlin and All-Star Builders Group. We're asking for a reduction in the rear setback on Lot 27 in Renaissance subdivision. This particular subdivision was developed by the All-Star Group, and they are building all the homes in the subdivision. This particular lot will have a custom home built on it, and we need a little bit of relief in the rear to, again, build a larger home. This particular lot, and we are only asking for this single lot, this variance at this time. This particular lot, if you've got a copy of the final plat on the subdivision, this particular lot backs up to the lake. There are no lots, no neighbors or lots directly behind this lot, so it's I think it's a reasonable request. We'll have a bigger and nicer home built on the property. This particular lot's 140 feet deep. The lots across the street are 155 feet deep. And again, this lot is bordered by a large lake at the rear. So would respectfully ask for your consideration to reduce this building line. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions by any board member at this time?
I know this is a new subdivision, but one of the things is kind of similar to a lot of our Pelican Point type variances. Is this gonna, from like 28 and 26, is it gonna obstruct the view of the pond, okay, from the right or left?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think what he asked, and maybe you didn't understand, is the house going to impair the individual and lot 26? In other words, as this house goes back, okay, the lot number 27, the rear setback, right? It's not going to, his vision from the back side of lot 26, I say his, theirs, he's not going to see a brick building sitting right there. Is that correct? Is what you're saying?
Well, of course, the further back it is, the more it's going to block the lake. There's no question. If in the ideal case,
that's
for
what
the future owner of 26 would be 27 stays vacant. But I think in this situation, given the fact that there are no lots to the rear of what we're proposing,
he's not really worried about the rear. He's worried about the houses on the side.
Well, I've got. Do you have a copy of the plat?
Is this it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a house on 26 and 28 now?
No, there's no houses. It's brand new subdivision right now.
No, they're vacant.
So I guess to help and clarify exactly what Brad was asking, if you can, Brad, if someone builds a house and lives with the setback line that's there now, and we're sitting on their back porch on 26 and look to their right, okay, would they see a building now, or would they see that you're wanting to set that one back?
Well, I think.
Because of what we do today, 26 coming in here and wanting to go down because the other house to the side is blocking the view, and so we're causing one hardship with this one. So that's why I was just wondering.
Well, maybe 26 would also ask for a waiver.
Well, that's what he was asking.
Yeah.
In other words, we will be creating a problem. Is
26 and 28.
on 26 and 28. If they came up and built a house, and they came up before this board, as you did tonight, and asked for their building to be set back so it's square with 26, 27, then, what I'm saying is this is going to be a snowball thing. That's what he was asking. That's the question he was asking.
And I do understand your concern, especially if you had neighbors to the rear.
Right.
But given the fact that
to the side is what we're worried about, because there is a lake in the back, and most people do buy those houses to view a lake. And if they had a rear setback on a house, and I can understand their complaint, and I'm sure you can too, is it going to obstruct that person's individual's view of the lake?
Right. Okay. Well, I can
from side to side.
I can offer this that the All-Star Group that developed the subdivision will be building all the homes in there. They're not selling any lots.
But okay. Well,
they're constructing.
What I'm saying is that was his question. That was his question, and I felt you didn't quite understand what he was trying to say. Any other further questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if this was Lot 26 they were requesting the variance on, or Lot 30, it would not have the impact on the adjacent lots for viewing left and right view of the lake. If we grant this for number 27, it's going to impair the view of Lot 26 and 28, looking left and right, if you will, from the back of the lot. And I think we're probably creating a problem by granting this for Lot 27.
I move you open the public hearing.
Yeah. Public hearing is now open. Anybody that is here tonight speaking in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Go ahead and close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further questions or discussions by board members?
Well, I'm under discussion, and that's why I want to get to the public hearing and see if anybody else had anything to say. But I'm in agreement with what Mr. Dalton said, is that and what Brad brought about is that we're creating a hardship for 26 and 28 to where they almost would have to come back and ask us for a variance. And so then all of a sudden we've got a variance on 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And I think when they built the neighborhood, what has happened here is you've got somebody that has come up and wanted to build next to the pond so they can have the pond behind their home. And when the neighborhood, it looks to me like when it was originally done, they only chose to put those lots at 140, and I'm sorry, my bifocal's not working quite right, 140 feet and 13 inches. And now we're wanting to put a bigger lot there because they wanted to be by the pond. And so I just don't see the hardship there when there's some other lots in the neighborhood that are larger that could probably accommodate the home. That's my feeling. I don't see the hardship.
Any further discussion?
Well, I agree with Mr. Cox from the standpoint of there are bigger lots across the street. I think what should have happened was the rear setback line should have been taken into consideration for the larger home, the subdivision designed that way, and then been approved by the zoning and planning. What's going to happen here is we're going to grant this one, then somebody's going to come in and say, well, you did it for 27, I want it for 26, 28, 29, and 30, as Mr. Cox so stated. So.
And at that point, you'd almost be obligated to give it to them because you created the hardship.
Right. Set the precedent.
So does that take it? We got a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the variance as written based on the fact that we are creating a hardship for other lots within there, and this should have been taken into consideration when the overall neighborhood was designed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to deny as written, and we also have a second. Any opposition?
Nope.
No opposition. Motion carries. Variance is denied. Next on the agenda, 1714.07, track XA1 for Delta Builders, located on the south side of Southwood Village Avenue, approximately 100 feet west of Beaujon Avenue. My bifocals are dying too.
Ellen Jackson with McLean and Associates, representing the owner of the property. We're asking for a variance of 5.86, and that's for the overhang. We meet the requirements from the center line as far as the building. And the reason why we're asking for this is simply because the originally when this canal was supposed to be dug, it wasn't supposed to go as deep into the lot. It was just supposed to go straight. And we're trying to keep away from the servitude. And this is the best plan that we have to fit on this house, but we're just asking for a variance.
Any questions by board members? No. Mr. Cox?
So this house is already there?
It's not there, it's proposed.
Excuse me?
It's
It's proposed to build a house there. It's not
Yes.
already constructed. Okay, I'm just, okay.
Open up public hearing, please.
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this young lady's request? Please stand up, sign in, and go to the podium. Mr. State your name, sir.
My name is Henry Pine. I live on my property is adjacent to this property. And I'd like to oppose this change on this variance because I really feel the lot is way too small to put a house on it anyway. Plus the pipe going through the ditch for the driveway will obstruct the drainage, and I think it causes a lot of grief for everybody in the whole neighborhood. I have some pictures of that. We had a rain there a week ago that actually the level of the water in the ditch went above that pipe.
So there's a ditch in the front and the back of this property? Looks like a road ditch on one of them.
It does, doesn't it?
But this looks like a back ditch.
That's on the back.
Thank you.
So they're trying to put this house in between two ditches.
Yeah. Mr. Pine, let me
It's
clarify
among
something.
3 ditches.
You can excuse me, I'm sorry?
We have more pictures that show.
Okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Hang on.
I just want to clarify this picture right here. This culvert underneath this boardwalk where the road is right here, this is the front of the property?
Yeah,
The street would be the front of the property, the street. Okay. That's what we're trying to clarify is which direction the property is.
So that other ditch would be
Over there.
back here?
There's another ditch.
The ditch here and one goes underneath here.
That's the culvert that we see on this plat here.
5-foot plastic culvert.
5-foot plastic culvert.
And then the bayou goes back here.
Okay.
That's what this.
No, so then this is the front.
Because here's the bayou.
Right, the Goudin goes behind it. This is the culvert, and then this is a ditch in the front also. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Pine.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Pine, I'm going to give you your pictures back, sir.
Too long. Well, I'll just
Mr. Pine?
drop them.
Any questions for Mr. Pine? Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Please come up and sign in, please. This is the more pictures.
Yes, and also that we do oppose it also because of drainage is so bad. I do have more pictures of the back and the front. We already flood on Beaujean.
Let me see those pictures now. Pass them.
In front of our yards and the back of our yards, which already is a public health threat to our kids with the rodents and the snakes. You can see the water.
Could you state your name, please? I don't know.
Sherry Cotton.
Thank you.
Sherry Cotton.
Uh-huh.
And I don't mean to interrupt you either, but you said you flood on Beaujean. Is that the name of a street in this neighborhood?
It covers the road.
Because I'm looking for Beaujean.
That picture
here it is.
of where it's covering the culvert was taken 2 hours after it stopped raining on Tuesday. 2 hours after. Our street was covered with water. And that wasn't even obstructing it at the time.
I don't want to interrupt you because I know you're on a roll here.
I'm mad,
But
yes.
has this ever happened before?
Yes, sir. And it will
In other
only
words,
get worse.
just because that culvert was placed in there, do you think that was the cause of that flooding there?
No, sir. But with the culvert, you can see the before and after pictures. During the rain or after the rain, It went on the sides. It was actually covering that culvert during the rain, but I didn't have a camera at the time. So now that you can see where they've covered it up to put the driveway in, that will completely block it up. Not completely, but that'll slow up our drainage. And, you know, we already get water into the front of our yards, into the back of our yards. Some people's, it comes very close to their house already. I don't want to flood to put a house there. It's a very small lot. The back is all big drainage. The front, the side, on the right side of that property, there's a culvert underneath there.
Well,
that's it.
I can understand, but what we're here tonight is for, and I want to remind the board, we're here for a variance of 5.8 feet and not a drainage issue, okay? And yes, in the state of Louisiana, we've got drainage issues, okay? We've got serious drainage issues. But unfortunately, I have to go by the law here.
There's another lady I think who wants to speak.
And, well, I'm just stating, and I've got several more people that need to come up. But I just want to say we're here for that 5.86 feet, okay?
Just for the record, Ms. Cotton, how far down Beaujon do you live?
4 houses.
The fourth house in? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in favor for or against this gentleman's request? By all means, sir, come step up and sign in, please. No, sir, I've got this gentleman right here. Thank you.
You'll get a chance. Don't worry.
You'll get a chance.
Oh,
He wants to speak.
My name is James Owens, sir. I live on Beaujon for 14 years. And since the time I've been on Beaujon, we've been having water problem on that street and the back ditch of Beaujon. Now, they're finna put a cover on Southwood Village, which is too small for the water to even go through. The last little rain we had, the water was going over the top of that cover. It wouldn't be bad if they would put a bigger cover there or a second cover to relieve some of the water on that street. My name is James Owens.
Mr. Owens, how far down Beaujon do you live?
I live 14 houses. In fact, I live in the middle of the street.
Okay, and has the water ever gotten up that far?
Oh, yes. Sir, the water been coming through my driveway to make it down to the end of that street where they finna put this house at.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of or against? We have the gentleman in the back. Let him come up, and then you're next, sir. State your name, please, sir.
My name is Michael Lemon, and I stay 2 houses down from where they're going to put this house. When it's rain, we have a lot of problems. And the matter of fact, when it rains so hard, no cars can't come down the road because all that flooded. And water come almost every time it rains. I be being afraid water gonna come in my house. And it's real bad. And when they put that house there, I know we're gonna be flooded the next time.
Well, sir, I think I'm going to try to offset a little bit of this. We're not here to say they can build or they can't build. Okay, that's their land. They have the right to build that house anyhow. Okay, they've got an issue with the amount of setback that's on that land. So where they're going to position that house. What's happening is they're going to put a culvert in there anyhow. Okay, they've got the permit to put that culvert in there in the first place. Okay, what we do have, and I agree with you. I'm very sympathetic because I'm one of those individuals that's in the same situation. We got drainage issues, but this board is not a drainage board. This is a variance board, and they're coming for this board tonight, not because of drainage issues, but they're coming for this board to get a setback and to build their house that they want to build. Now, the drainage board is the one you want to talk to, because obviously you all have issues out there, but they have a right to build this house. So the house is going there. This board cannot disapprove them building that house.
Well, they have other issues. They have a natural gas line. Ain't no more than about, what, 20 feet from the house.
But, I mean still.
Yeah, they can still build
you
that?
can understand where I'm coming from then.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I like to be able to solve all the problems, because if I could, I would.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Well, we have a real problem on that road in the rain, though.
Oh, no doubt. And from what you've told me and what other people have told me, I understand.
Yeah.
Next.
Who do we go to for that? Because that's what we are all here for.
And it's a drainage problem. Yeah. If it's a drainage problem, go to the drainage board. They meet once a month too.
If concrete over it, he's starting tomorrow.
You've got two different drainage issues. You've got the roadside drainage, which is Department of Public Works.
Right.
And the ditch back behind there would be East Ascension Drainage District. Now the road ditch is emptying into the drainage district's big ditch. So you probably need to coordinate with both of those. If you have a problem with the size of the culvert on the street, that would be a Department of Public Works problem. And I will turn this over to him tomorrow and let him go out and take a look at that. But that may not be the entire problem. It may not just be the culvert. It may be once that ditch goes into the drainage ditch. It still has to be
investigated. And,
right.
And this is the Departments of Public Works.
What are they for? You know, I mean, I would hate for them to have to tear up a driveway, but we don't want our houses to flood either. You know, they want to build quick, and that's fine. I don't care if they put a house there. I don't want that little culvert blocking us up.
And I understand the concern, but you got to understand my position too. Okay, what's written in front of me is legal documentation, and then in this documentation, I have to base everything. Well, this board has to make their decision based on what is in front of us and what we're capable of doing. We cannot control your floodage. We can't control flooding. That's not our problem. Okay, it's not this board's problem.
Yes, some other people sign up to
I've got
speak.
a question. What is the variance asking for? Only
It's only asking for 5.86 feet on from a front setback. That's it.
So that they can build that much closer to the road is what they're asking.
Up on that ditch. Up on the ditch. Yeah, up on the big drainage ditch.
Okay, that's enough. We got anybody would like to approach the podium now?
Some more sign up.
Anybody want to sign up? Okay, close public hearing, please. We got one. Sir?
Oh, he's on there.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a chance for your rebuttal. Let me close the public hearing.
Move to close, or second, or whatever.
Public hearing is now closed. Sir, now's your chance to rebut. If you would like to answer some of their questions, especially containing to the drainage, by all means, I'm going to give you time to do so.
Okay, fine. My name is Leo Lambert. I'm the owner of Delta Builders, who will be building the house. As you said, some of the issues are a little different. For instance, we have put a culvert in. It is an arch, 4-foot wide culvert. It is bigger and will bring more water east to west on the south side of the road than the culverts draining these people here. We've got the permit from the parish, the culverts are in. The real issue here, which doesn't show anywhere, is are we going to build a house or are we going to put a mobile home there? This property happened somehow or another, got lost in the engineering. This was originally a 212-acre tract. And lo and behold, I'm the owner of this piece of land, been the owner for several years. And it's a matter of what do I do? Do I not pay the taxes on it, or do I try to use it as best we can? Now, this modular house would have over 1,500 square feet. The roof would be 712. There'll be dormers on it. It'll be a nice-looking house. It will look better than some of the others. It also will be 24 inches above the ground. So any effect to the drainage would be minuscule. we're gonna bring in, I don't know, 6 to 10 loads of dirt. Now that's the effect that it will have on the drainage, because the culvert that we put in is much larger. I think it's a 36-inch culvert east of it, and then just slightly west of it is culvert coming across, draining toward the north where some of these people evidently live. But this is going to be an improvement over what could be.
But what you're asking is that the 5.86 feet, okay, which the minimum front setback is 25 feet. So actually, you're asking for a reduction of 5.86 feet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
And that's because of the overhangs. Is that correct? That's the way I understood your first statement? Okay.
I've got a couple questions for him.
By all means, Mr. Cox, go ahead and ask that question.
Mr. Lambert, let me ask you a question. Delta Builders owns this lot right now?
No, it's Financial Holding.
Financial Holding?
Delta Builders will be building it.
You would be building the house?
Yeah.
Who owns the property?
Financial Holding, which I also own.
Okay.
My children owns it, actually.
And when did you purchase this property?
The property was actually purchased in 1979.
Okay.
It was a part of a 212-acre tract, which I...
And then y'all developed the neighborhood there?
Well, yes.
Okay, so you bought a 200-something acre tract or whatever, and then you started developing Southwood Village or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions? Any other further questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. Since the drainage has been an issue at Southwood for a long time, why wouldn't this one just be included in kind of the retention area pond that it borders on? Like right behind it, there's a retention area, oxidation ponds. Why wouldn't it have been considered in development just to include that in the retention area?
Well,
what are you asking me to do, to give a piece of land that I have?
Well, no, I mean, when it was originally developed, it obviously has XA1 as the track number, but everything else had 52, so it looks like it was missed, but was it supposed to be included in the retention area of that area?
Well, in those days, there was no retention pond required, period. The property around it was developed from 79 to the middle 80s. The word detention pond was not being used at that time. Now, let me further explain. The pond that you're talking about originated as an aerated lagoon. I'm sorry, as an oxidation pond, and later was converted to an aerated lagoon, which it is now. And it serves to take care of all of the residents. There's about 600 residences that own it. Now, I do not run that pond. Someone else.
You talking about being included into that?
I'm just saying, trying to find a hardship. One besides making the house a little bigger.
Yeah,
That's
my point. That's my point.
I mean, I don't want to promote it. If we're in discussion, just don't want to promote putting something bigger there that's, if there's drainage issues. I mean, I understand we're not going to look at drainage, but something bigger is going to block something more than something smaller.
But I have a hard
The
time.
variance is really the roof. It's not the size of the structure.
The roof, the overhang.
Brad, I have a hard time with this also because of the fact that I'm looking at a neighborhood that was developed, whenever it was developed, I understand, before planning and zoning and that sort of thing, before they had to have approved and stuff like that. But I'm looking at a neighborhood that was cut up in such a way to make use of every little inch of the property, in the holding company that owns it or whatever now is going back and trying to make amends for that or whatever so that they can utilize that piece of property. And I'm just having a hard time with it not being a self-imposed hardship there.
Well, Mr. Cox, my point here is the Zoning and Planning Commission approved this plat at some point in time.
No, because it was before planning and zoning.
Well, but then it got, okay, then it's grandfathered in is my point.
That part of it's grandfathered in, I understand, but what
So
I'm
it
saying
exists.
is, but they they didn't take into consideration everything, and they looked at this lot. And if you look at the ones adjacent to those lots, they're so narrow, okay, that they just tried to manufacture another lot here.
But this was laid out before we had the zoning and planning standards we have now, so we have to accept this exists de facto as it is.
Well, and I understand. I understand what you're saying, that it does exist, okay. And I'm not saying that there's not a problem, but I think it's a self-imposed hardship. Right. I think it's a self-imposed hardship to come here and ask me to allow them to go closer to the property line on a self-imposed hardship on this piece of property.
Well, I think everybody's getting excited about the drainage, and the drainage is not the issue here.
The drainage is not the issue, and drainage notwithstanding, I still think it was a self-imposed somebody has to show me where there's not a self-imposed hardship here.
Drainage is not an issue. We're talking about on the front, the side, and the rear. Surrounded by ditches, okay? Their 5 foot wants to come closer to a ditch, no matter if you're looking at the front or the back, okay? So that has to impose some kind of drainage where if we allow them as is without this variance, okay, it's smaller. It's not as close to the ditch, okay? If we add in this variance, then we're making them closer. That's less ditch when the ditch overflows, and I know the ditch overflows there. Okay?
And we're making a larger house.
Village, okay, and people parking at Village and walking in the water, okay, down the street. That's been there for a long time. Everybody knows Southwood tells you.
So what you
we're making
this is basically a public issue.
I mean, basically, if I understand draining on some when we have dealing with a house, with a regular drainage in the ditch in the front and things like that. But this one has it almost on all three. They covered one side of the ditch. Yeah. Okay, but it's basically got ditches all the way around.
Well, and to me, we created a larger house because they can't go back because of the existing 25-foot drainage servitude. So the servitude back there has them bound, so they've got to try to go forward, and
that's it.
But that is the hardship itself. They're trying to put a house on a property that's got some very unusual constraints.
The size of the house to put it on the property.
Right.
They're not trying to put a house on the property.
They can put a house on the property, but they're trying to increase the size of the house. It's what I'm reading.
Well,
am I not correct?
That is a valid point.
Yes. They're trying to increase the size of the house to go on a piece of property. They're not trying to.
That's what the variance is for, the extra 5 feet.
But my question is, do you really think 5 feet is going to make any difference to the situation?
Yes.
I don't.
For that
okay, well, that's fine.
I don't, but that's different. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's not so much that I think the 5 feet. I'm just having trouble here with not understanding the self-imposed hardship here. Or, if there's a hardship just to build a bigger house, to sell a bigger house for more money, then that's not a reason for me to grant this variance.
Well, Mr. Cox, based on...
He already said they can put a mobile home on that piece of property and do the same thing, which is fine. That's a mobile home. Everyone be on a mobile home, that's fine. But I'm still saying...
excuse me. Excuse me. No. Just hold it down. This board wants to have a discussion, and I want to have a discussion without your interference. Thank you.
Where I'm going with this is a house is certainly better use of the land than a mobile home by any stretch of the imagination. A permanent structure is better than a mobile home in a neighborhood of this type. Having said that, we have previously granted these 5-foot variances for other houses and lots in very similar situations. Perhaps not that's exact, but it all involves some uniqueness that they're doing. So my point here is I think it would be very arbitrary and capricious of this board not to grant this, because we're not addressing the size of the pipe. That's a public works issue. We're not addressing the depth of the ditches or the goudines or the bayous. That's a various drainage board issue. My point is, I think we need to look at the precedent we have set. I don't think the 5 foot is going to have any appreciable effect on anything. Granted, there are drainage issues out there. I'm not saying that at all. But I think not to grant this would put us in an arbitrary and capricious situation.
Let me comment on that, because that's legal. This is not an arbitrary and capricious situation. This is a unique piece of property that you've got to make the decision on one unique piece of property. You're not being arbitrary and capricious, and no matter how you act on here.
Okay. I want to stay out of trouble too.
Well, and what the only trouble, and I hear what you're saying, Mr. Dalton, and and I understand somewhat what you're saying, but I still have trouble remembering a piece of property that was situated like this, and every one of them, as Mr. Parrington just said, is unique in its own nature. Again, I just think that the way this neighborhood was developed and designed, I think it was a I just can't get past that I feel like there's a self-imposed hardship.
Okay.
And you've given me nothing to...
Okay, and that's fine. That's what the discussion was about. Okay, any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
I'll second.
We have a motion to deny as written. Go ahead and state your reason, please.
Due to I don't see a valid hardship.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to deny as written due to lack of hardship. We also have a second. Any opposition? We have one. We have one. Okay. Motion carries. Variance is denied.
Hey, we can't agree on everything all the time.
Nope.
Also have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any opposition? No opposition. We are now adjourned.
At least we agreed on that.